Asia's data center boom is testing energy infrastructure with capacity set to double by 2030 as ESG pressures intensify. To explore the implications, we are joined by Tamara Singh of the Nature Conservancy and Sharmel Ali of ST Telemedia Global Data Centers. Welcome, Tamara and Sharmel. So, is Asia building its digital future faster than it can power it sustainably?
I think the impacts of industrializing new technologies without the appropriate regenerative infrastructure is already something we live with today. And as we think about drained watersheds, expensive climate events, and how we might invest in even more expensive rectification to compensate for all this fragility we've introduced, we should think about learning our lessons from history. So at TNC, the Nature Conservancy, we acknowledge that nature is also infrastructure. And that's why we've committed our own scientific expertise to helping the industry decide how it can make the right decisions with tools such as our SiteRight tool to locate assets, advisory services like Nature for Water to help you secure your water sources and protect the longevity of your investments. The infrastructure that powers our digital future must work with nature, not against it. And that's just pragmatism. It's the risk management to reduce future costs while we allow economies to prosper today.
I think one cannot deny that Asia is accelerating its digital build-out. As we know, it's coming purely from cloud, AI, and digital services. In some markets, the pace of growth is starting to test energy systems that were actually never designed for large-scale intensive infrastructure, especially at a time when countries are also setting rigorous, ambitious carbon commitments to decarbonize. So yes, I believe the tension is real. But I don't see it as digital progress versus sustainability. The real issue is how growth is actually planned. So when data centers are actually developed without coordinated energy planning, sustainability usually falls behind. When power planning, renewables, innovation, and energy efficiency are designed from the start, and when industries, utilities, and governments actually work together, I think this can actually help accelerate the clean energy transition. So done well, I actually believe DC's data centers can actually be enablers in driving demand for renewables and also strengthening grid resilience, and also in terms of raising efficiency across the systems. And I'd like to say that at STT GDC, our approach has always been to grow responsibly alongside demand. That includes increasing RE usage and improving operational efficiency through innovation. And in 2024, we're proud to say that we've reached over 78.5% RE usage across the group. And this is in line with meeting our goal of being carbon neutral by 2030. So ultimately, I think the question isn't about how fast Asia builds, but I believe it's about how does it do so responsibly.
Just to give everyone a clearer picture, what does genuine collaboration between industry and conservation actually look like? And where does it break down?
I think that anything genuine in this context really starts by having an emotional connection to what you're working towards. I think the realization that shifts paradigms is that these purposes, they're not at odds. It's not you or me. And so for me, genuine collaboration means involving each other really early on. In the case of creating lasting, resilient, prosperous ecosystems, to me, that's about citing design the stages, not afterthoughts where we then have sub-optimized against each other's purposes, when environmental inputs are treated as compliance checkboxing rather than as a strategic way to avoid having to spend on expensive rectification later on. That's, for me, is why conversations about nature and conservation are so critical as Asia is moving forward, so we can understand the dependencies we have on one another to succeed. The Global Ocean Innovation Challenge is my example of how the Nature Conservancy brings technology innovation, philanthropy, and conservation together and design together. We do this across sectors to embed conservation with economic systems, not just as margins. And so at TNC, we see nature not as a hurdle to your innovation, but as your greatest inspiration.
So for me, I think genuine collaboration is about balancing digital and economic growth, not to the detriment of keeping of natural resources protection. So whether it's land use or water and energy systems. And in practice, it actually means engaging early. So before sites are actually locked in, before designs are actually frozen, and staying engaged throughout the whole project life cycle. So environmental considerations, I think, need to inform decisions from the start and not to come in or be retrofitted later. And on the question of breaking down, I think when collaboration actually breaks down is when sustainability actually comes in too late. And when commercial timelines and environmental priorities are actually misaligned. So that's when sustainability is starting becoming a tick boxing sort of exercise rather than a long-term outcome. And from our perspective at STT GDC, closer coordination across government, communities, and also industries is essential, not just to make sustainability technically viable, but also align with broader environmental and resilience goals. So we don't see conservation as a blocker to digital growth. We see it as some critical infrastructure that enables long-term resilience and assuring our license to operate.
But who would you say is ultimately responsible for making digital infrastructure green? Is it on the operators, governments, or investors?
So I don't know about you, but I believe that we're all responsible for our survival, our own joy, and we see this happening already. Operators have lower impact practices, governments set policies, investors factor nature positive outcomes into their capital allocation. Conservation organizations like TNC, we simply bridge them with science and on the ground experience. Industry knows that if you interfere with human experience negatively, running sweatshops, poor safety records, they run the risk of being boycotted. There's already $64 billion of data center projects in the US unable to proceed in 2025 because of citizen action, because of the impact on the environment they have. So the true planetary prosperity that grows the pie, that happens when we stop treating technology and the environment as separate silos at odds with each other, and start to engineer them as a single symbiotic system.
Yeah, I think that's a question that is commonly asked. And I think in reality, responsibility is shared. There's no two ways about it. There's no single group that can actually do this alone. So you have operators that are responsible in terms of how facilities are designed, built, and run, from an energy efficiency standpoint to renewable energy sourcing and from day-to-day operational discipline. And in terms of governments, they play a critical role in terms of enabling policy frameworks, investing in grid capacity, and unlocking access to clean energy at scale. Investors, on the other hand, it's about influencing outcomes through capital allocation, expectations on performance, and the focus on long-term value creation. Progress happens fastest when these roles are aligned, and that's why industry collaboration actually matters. So such a collective approach will ultimately enable digital growth that is sustainable across the region.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, Tamara and Sharmel. Hope you can both join us again soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you, Sis.
Once again, those were Tamara Singh, Managing Director for Singapore and Senior Advisor for Regional Programs at the Nature Conservancy, and Sharmel Ali, Head of Group ESG at ST Telemedia Global Data Centers. For more news, visit esgbusiness.com.